I never thought I'd be standing on my own property, on a quiet Saturday afternoon, with my heart racing, as a woman who had no business being there walked up to my SPRAYS dog and sprayed him right in the face. That's not something you expect in your own backyard, especially not when you're minding your own business, just trying to make sure your ranch stays in one piece. But that's exactly what happened, and everything changed from that moment on. Let me start at the beginning. I'm Jake Matthews, and this land I bought, a small ranch on the outskirts of town, was supposed to be my fresh start. I'm a Navy vet, spent 12 years surveying this country, saw things I'd rather not remember, and came back home with some invisible scars, PTSD, anxiety, the usual stuff. That's when Buddy came into my life. He's my golden retriever, my SPRAYS dog. He's not just a pet. Thuff's been trained to pull me out of my flashbacks, calm me when I'm HOA-ing an episode, and give me some peace in a world that doesn't always feel peaceful. Without Buddy, well, I wouldn't be the man I am today. The ranch wasn't supposed to be part of some HOA. Technically, my land wasn't even within their reach. But as things go, they started inching into my life. It started smell a letter here, a reminder about dog licensing there. I'd always just thrown them away. But then one day, I noticed a slight bend in the Veteran Lives Here sign I had posted at my gate. Next thing I know, I'm getting letters about the paint on my fence, the flagpole in front of my barn, and how I'm apparently disturbing the community's aesthetic. I laughed it off at first. I'm not the kind of guy who gets involved in HOA drama. But when Karen from the HOA showed up unannounced, clipboard in hand, telling me to remove the American flag from my property, that's when things started to get serious. I told her no, I wasn't removing anything. That flag was there for a reason. But Karen, with her smile fading and her tone turning colder, said, "We'll see about that." From that moment on, she made it clear that she wasn't going to back down. And neither was I. Things took a turn for the worse when I started noticing my livestock feed bins tampered with, trash thrown over my fence, and Buddy being harassed by joggers who clearly didn't live in the area. It was subtle at first, but after a while, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I kept everything documented, took pictures, and kept calm. I wasn't looking for trouble, but trouble seemed to have found me. Then, it all escalated. I received a final notice from the HOA about some violation regarding landscaping practices, which was ridiculous because I lived on a ranch. Landscaping didn't apply. I started preparing to fight back, gathering evidence that my property was never under the HOA's jurisdiction. I even had a lawyer friend check over everything, just to be safe. But what I didn't expect was Karen to take it one step further, well, much further. On that Saturday afternoon, while Buddy was resting peacefully beside me as I worked on the fence, Karen walked onto my property without permission. She stormed up the dirt path, arms flailing, shouting about animal safety violations. Before I could even open my mouth, she pulled a can of pepper spray out of her bag, aimed it at Buddy's face, and sprayed. Buddy yelped like I've never heard before. My heart dropped as I rushed toward him, but it was too late. His eyes were already swollen, and he was frantically trying to claw at his face. I dropped to my knees, doing everything I could to comfort him, trying to wash the spray off with water. But Karen just stood there, like she had every right to do it. "That dog's a threat," she said. "You think slapping a vest on a mutt makes it special?" I was furious, shaking with rage, but I knew I had to stay calm for Buddy. My SPRAYS dog was in pain, and she wasn't even the slightest bit sorry. I grabbed my phone, took a picture of her standing there, still holding the pepper spray can in her hand, and Buddy crying in my lap. She looked at the camera and said, "Go ahead, call whoever you want. I run this neighborhood." That moment stuck with me, but I wasn't going to let it slide. I knew I had to take action, and that's exactly what I did. I rushed Buddy to the emergency vet. They confirmed it was pepper spray. His eyes were a mess. He was hurting, and when I returned home, I found something waiting for me at the gate: a crumpled HOA notice demanding Buddy's removal from the community for aggressive behavior. I knew right then that Karen had crossed a line, and I wasn't going to take it. I didn't hesitate. I called in a few favors, reached out to a friend of mine in the Department of Justice's civil rights division, and made it clear that what Karen had done wasn't just a personal attack. It was a crime. Federal law protected SPRAYS animals, and she had just broken that law. Little did she know, she was about to learn exactly what kind of mess she had stepped into. A few days later, Karen showed up again, this time with 2 other HOA members and a sheriff's deputy. They claimed I was in violation of animal safety codes and demanded Buddy's removal. But then, Karen told a bold-faced lie. That animal attacked a child last week. I froze. I knew this wasn't true. Buddy had been recovering from the pepper spray attack, and he hadn't left the property in days. The deputy seemed confused, and I told him everything. That Karen had sprayed Buddy, that I had vet documentation, and that it was all on camera. Karen tried to argue, but I knew the truth was on my side. I told her, "You assaulted a federally protected SPRAYS animal. This is assault, not self-defense." She tried to brush me off, but I had her on camera, and I was about to show the world what she had done. 2 days later, I received a call from Agent Ramirez from the DOJ. He told me they were opening a formal inquiry into Karen and her behavior. The more they dug, the more they found financial discrepancies within the HOA, Karen's manipulation of power, and even a plan to set my property on fire. The evidence was mounting, and there was nowhere for Karen to hide. But Karen wasn't done yet. She didn't back down. In fact, she escalated things even more. I woke up one morning to find a dead rat nailed to my gate, with a note attached that read, "Back off, or next time it's the dog." I was disgusted, but I wasn't afraid. I knew I had to protect Buddy at all costs. The investigation continued. The DOJ uncovered even more illegal activities tied to Karen and other members of the HOA board. They found fraud, misused funds, and evidence that Karen had been taking advantage of the HOA's power to line her pockets. And that's when things really started to fall apart for her. I eventually went public with my story. The press picked it up, and soon enough, I was getting messages from veterans, parents of children with SPRAYS dogs, and people who had been harassed by HOAs in their communities. They all thanked me for speaking up. But the battle wasn't over yet. After Karen's arrest, I found myself in another showdown with the remaining members of the HOA board. They tried to offer me a settlement, asking me to drop the civil suit. But I wasn't interested in a quick fix. I wanted accountability. I wanted justice for Buddy and for everyone who had been pushed around by the HOA. I brought evidence to the table, proof that Karen had been illegally collecting dues and mismanaging funds. The board was forced to dissolve, and the people responsible for Karen's actions were held accountable. But even then, things didn't settle down completely. One night, I caught a man attempting to burn down my property again. This time, however, the authorities had enough evidence to put him behind bars. It turned out, the man was connected to Karen and had been part of the campaign to intimidate me. But through all this, the one thing that kept me going was Buddy. Despite everything, despite the lies, the threats, the harassment, remained by my side. Slowly, but surely, he healed from the trauma. I took him to therapy, and the vet worked with him to help him recover emotionally as well as physically. Then, the day of Karen's trial came. It was a big moment, not just for me, but for everyone who had been affected by her reign of terror. The courtroom was packed, and when the judge handed down the sentence, guilty on all charges, Karen's fate was sealed. She was going to prison for 5 years, and she wasn't getting out early. The media coverage was overwhelming, but I was just glad that justice had been served. Buddy had been through so much, and now we could finally move on. As for the HOA, it was gone, dissolved by a vote of the community. A new board was formed, one that actually cared about the well-being of the residents. And Buddy? He went back to doing what he does best, keeping me grounded, keeping me safe, and being the loyal, low-vying companion he's always been. If you've ever been bullied by an HOA, mistreated because of your disability, or felt like you didn't have a voice, know that you're not alone. I want to hear your stories. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever had a similar experience with an HOA. And remember, if you're going through something like this, stand your ground. Don't let them silence you. Justice might take time, but it always prevails in the end. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of real-life drama and justice served. See you next time.